Hi, Antoinette here, welcome back to my channel. I want to do a walkthrough of the Tantric Dakini Oracle, also known as the Secret Dakini Oracle. For those who aren't familiar, it's the same deck, except for I think this is the better deck to get. So unless you specifically want this one that says Secret Dakini Oracle, don't waste your money, go and get this one, because this one comes with a book, and the book is huge. It is packed with information and is a must, and that's the difference. This one is published by Destiny Book. This deck needs more introduction than a standard deck, so I do apologise. The authors are Nik Douglas and Penny Slinger. They are also the authors of Sexual Secrets. So I'm going to do a little bit of talking or reading from the book just to make sure that this gets the sort of introduction and understanding that it deserves. Anyway, so you have a nice A5 size book. We've got contents, and it goes through what you need to do. So the person that wrote this book have studied, obviously, tantric yoga and lots of other forms of kind of mystical studies. Yeah, would that be the right word of putting it all, like to try and wrap it all up into a nutshell? So systems of yoga and tantra introduce them to a concept of dakini. Dakini is an archetype of feminine wisdom energy. Traditionally, there are 64 dakinis, which are believed to be expressions of the archetypal energies within every single human being. The dakinis are said to be sometimes creative and sometimes destructive, and without their different energies, we would all cease to exist. So that's the two sides of the dakini. There's lots of information here going through, just talking you through visual effects, affirmations, and more, more of their understanding and studies of Dakini. So this is the reason why this deck has piqued my interest. There's a direct relationship between the Tantric Dakini Oracle cards and the tarot. Though it wasn't set out originally to create a tantric tarot, the final result of this deck specifically is a natural synthesis of the tantric teachings and tarot. There are 22 of the cards directly related to the major arcana and the traditional tarot, and then you have the elements, and that is what, when I saw this deck being flipped through, that is what I saw instantly in the cards. And it was like, I don't want to say they spoke to me, but I understood them in a way that I didn't expect to from an oracle deck, because many oracle decks I don't connect to, mentally and visually instantly. And it was being able to see a system that I know in a different format that really kind of got me. So that was why this one ended up in like the kind of backgrounds of my list to order. The Tantric Dakini Oracle has a practical application for each person and offers a means to better understand and control one's own destiny. That's from Nik Douglas. Then we have Consulting the Oracle and introduction here. And then we have a little bit more that I just thought would be relevant to introducing this deck. The Tantric Dakini Oracle reveals through a deck of 65 transcendental visionary cards the surface of reality at the moment of consultation. Whatever question is brought to mind at this moment may be read through the order of placement of the cards, which provide a clear picture to the dominant influences and potential outcomes of the consultation. And then it talks more about using the deck. The Oracle explores the potent truth, providing a method of mirroring into the mind in order to discover the secrets of the Dakinis, the energies of transformation. Practice with the cards and concentration on their imagery will assist the intuition in perceiving the subconscious influences underlying destiny. Okay, and then there's lots more information. You have Approaching the Oracle, method for the Celtic Cross, and you have the method for the Tree of Life, and it gives you maps here as well. So there's your Tree of Life chart, and it goes through there the centers, and there's a mapping for you to see there, the subtle body. Method of the Great Universe Map, and then here we have the astrological houses to cards 1 to 13. Go through your kind of astrological houses there. We have a great universal map to follow. composition, more information here about the composition of the oracle and how it's been put together. It talks about the Joker card being in there, 64 cyclical cards representing the energies of transformation, moving conceptually around a fixed Joker. These cards are divided up in the following way. And it tells us about the split of the deck. So 1 to 21 would match Major Arcana. Then we have the air, fire, water and earth suits. And then we have a past, present and future card, which is, I think many people like to have in their deck. It talks about numerology of the cards. So you'd use them in a numerological way, just as you would. So breaking down your numerology, this would be one that you would do that for. And it just explains it here. So the cards add up to, in total, which is really interesting, 2080, which then breaks down to 2 plus 8, which gives us a 10, 10 being the wheel, or wheel of a great time. By adding up the numbers and reducing them to basics, fuller elaboration of numerological methods are found in sample readings at the back of the book. So we have sample readings in the back, which I haven't looked at. And then you have different methods of reading. Different ways of using the cards apart from the standard Celtic cross tree of life and the great universal map that they've put in here. The choice lies within the diviner, who may use any system with which he or she is familiar. In addition, the cards can be used as meditation devices, telepathic targets, or guessing games, and many other activities. Games can be invented spontaneously, collecting related elements, archetypes, and symbolic concepts. So there is no set way of doing this right or wrong, which is what I like there. So it actually has it, so you can't have somebody say to you, you're not reading correctly. So I like the fact that that's there. And then what it does have is what I think is what comes in the US Games version of the Secret Dakini deck. So this bit here, I think, would be the flashcards that come in that deck. And this is what I would call a quick reference to the cards. So as we know in tarot, card 1, Dakini title is Mercury. The tarot relationship would be Magician. And the brief meaning, we have spiritual fulfillment, the creative intellect, the power of the will to transform situations. So that mental intellect is there within the card. So the meaning is very slightly changed. It's more aimed at, I would say, the element of Mercury, I think, than the Magician. But you're using your will. So it depends how you read Magician. I know not everyone reads Magician as will. So it's just, so I think this is a really nice quick reference, and it's probably something I might actually write out onto smaller cards just to keep with the deck, so I don't have to pull the big book out all the time. But going through this, and then you have your elements going through, so it does your, what it's calling the minor arcana, if you like, in the deck, and it tells you about those as well. Although they don't necessarily relate to the minor in the same way as in a numerological sense. And then into the book, so we have a black and white picture of the card. So this is number 5, Ganesh, Lord of Obstacles. So if we come back, we can check what the 5 is. So we have Lord of Obstacles, which is the Hierophant. Many of you have probably already figured this out now. You can see why I'm probably liking the formation of this system. The images aren't quite my thing, but the formation of the system is definitely. So we have information, so bears number 5, signifying organisation and the pathway through all obstacles. This relates to ordered centering in the world and the entry through to the inner mandala, the mystical circle of psychic protection. The card has some affinity with the Hierophant of the tarot. Then it tells us more about Ganesh. And then we have the divinatory meaning here. So obstacles to overcome. And then, yeah, so that's it for the cards. So you have kind of 1 and a bit pages per card for all the cards. And there we go. So we have sample readings at the back, so they are there. Sample 1. Yeah, so sample 1. There's sample 2 there. So just to test yourself and see that you are on the right path while you're reading. It does tell you what cards they've kind of laid out. So it's all there. It's not colour layouts. But that's, and then you have some practice readings there as well, which I think is a really nice touch in the back of the book. There's a few there. And then we have some information about our authors. So Nik Douglas is born in Yorkshire, England, spent much of his childhood in the Middle East. From an early age, he pursued knowledge of ancient centuries, specialising in Egyptology, ancient art and occultism. He has travelled extensively in Asia, researching the spiritual beliefs and practices of Buddhism and Hinduism. He is a celebrated author, artist, and creator of Middle Eastern arts and antiquities. Collector. The majority of his career has been devoted to the study of Tantra. He has studied with some of the foremost experts in Hindu and Tibetan Tantra and helped organise his first major exhibit of Tantra art in London, Hayward Gallery. He lives in Anguilla, British West Indies. So that story there, some of that story of his learnings is in the front of the book, which I have kind of skipped over, but that's there for you to read and discover his teachings and where he's been to learn everything. Then we have Penny Slinger, multimedia artist and graduate of Chelsea College at Art of London, established herself as one of the world's leading visionary erotic artists and gained international acclaim, multifaceted works. She's produced and directed several videos, including Visions of Arawaks, I don't know what that says, in 1994, Dance of the Cosmos in 2000, and a DVD, Goddess Juice, 2003. She spends her time manifesting many forms of Goddess Tantra in the Goddess Temple in Northern California. And then we have Tree of Life chart and the Great Universal Map ordering. And some books related to the creation of this deck, I do believe. Going with the Joker, aka the Fool, humour in all situations, the centre of the pack, the point of transformation. And in some of the spreads, this would be the card I think that goes in the middle from my quick readings, and then you'd spread your spread around it. So this is like your centre point of your imaginings. And these are the backs. So it's kind of a cosmos. So as I said, the Mercury, card 1, so that would be our magician. And we have slightly different symbology in there. But to me, that symbol means Mercury to me. So I understand what I'm looking at, and I can't explain how, but I instantly saw magician. So it's weird how my brain works sometimes, or there's just quiet messages subliminally like launched in there. So 2 would be, so we have the High Priestess, it says it on there, Isis in this version, and the Occult Path, a boon card of intuition, attainment of wishes. So can you guess? So our Empress. And it's very red, this one. So passion, an affair of the heart, the occult tantric path. So the creation, I suppose, really getting down into your sort of sacral chakra. There's a flower there as well. Interesting, the hot seat, but instantly I think you can see that's your Emperor. And it's a seat, so the book is referring to a position of responsibilities, decisions needing to be made and balanced, which is definitely something that I refer to the Emperor for, that planning that's needed to move forwards. And we've sort of talked about our Hierophant, so we know who this one is. The wish-fulfilling gem, this would otherwise be our lovers because it's number 6. And a fulfillment of a wish, a mystic experience, spiritual evolution of the heart. So I think the spiritual evolution of the heart brings in that lovers aspect there, doesn't it? The connection, the relationship evolving. Our Chariot, although it's not an obvious chariot, cremation ground meditation, but there is a sort of somber, if I went with the 7 life lessons aspect to this, just from what you're seeing there. So this is the nature of all things, a spiritual rebirth. So it does have an element of death transitions to it as well, doesn't it? But it's definitely got that like 7 association, more so than the Chariot per se. Then we have our Justice card as 8. So that's interesting. So our living goddess. So I have kind of a self-development feel within this, which would come, I suppose, as an outside element or a outside of the box thought to justice. Self-development, duty toward high ideals, and manifestation of spirituality is also part of this card in this deck. 9 is our way through, so Hermit. So instead of a lantern, we've got a key. And there we have like to attain something, to overcome your problems. So there's your key to your issues. The Wheel of Great Time. I love the fact it's called a great time. I don't know how many people would call the Wheel of Fortune a great time, but it's certainly a roller coaster at that. It's nice to have it changed up to something called a great time. This is completion of cycle of destiny, success through actions. So yeah, success through actions would make it a great time on that wheel of destiny, wouldn't it? 11, so we have self-created, which would be the strength card. And this one doesn't immediately shout strength, but self-created, I guess, could have that strength moment to it. So where we talked about the strength cards, we have kind of the fire there, and we talked about that, like, having to sweeten the message, the intuition, the whatever we're doing, having to sweeten the honeypot when we're dealing with that situation. I suppose you could take that here with the beautiful flower floating on water and the fire in the middle, if you want with coloury kind of elements. We also have obviously the 2 there, so with numerological aspects, and we're going to be talking about the balance as well. So balancing, so if we think about the infinity symbol in the strength card, again, that one kind of does match balance as well. So there are things, okay, it's not instantly obvious. I don't think as a beginner you would get this for tarot, but I think you could definitely work with this at any point. So 12 is slay the ego. I like that. And of course that would be our hanged one. And this is cutting through bonds of the ego, breaking habits, self-surrendering. So that is much of what we see, isn't it, in the hanged one usually, when we relate that back to the stories of Odin, where he's surrendering himself in order to gain more vision. I think that one's obvious, isn't it? Death, transfiguration, transformation, the removal of fears through your tantric confrontation. Alchemy or temperance. So mental foundations, absolution, the spiritual path here. I think that's really pretty. This would be the equivalent of a devil. Let's just check what we have. The guardian of inner self, the power of unconscious, overcoming of the lower orders of the consciousness. So yeah, definitely, we talk about reining in control over our desires and, our bad habits. That is definitely what they're meaning there, isn't it? Of course, this would be the Tower. And we have the loss of one thing in order to gain another. And it's interesting they have all the eyes coming out of the house here that's being blown up. Oops, I'll have to pick that one up in a second. That one clearly wants to be read again. So we have 17, the Island of Jewels, which would be the star. And we have like a nice star burst in the background. And of course, that would be sort of hopes, aspirations, inspirations, possibilities, I suppose, as well, with your hopes and aspirations. Then we have Soma, which would be the moon, although it very much looks like the sun, which I do understand, but this is actually the moon, because I can't actually tell you why. It looks like a mushroom on ice background. And here we have again, so this is relating to, with the moon, intuition, wisdom, the ascent of psyche. So it very much goes with what we know of the moon. Here we have our phoenix, which is the sun. Phoenix rising from the ashes, that fiery element, that blaze, mystical attainment, transformation, selfless love and affair, marriage. So it does have a few others, of course, rebirth being in there as well, but mystical attainment, I suppose. So that matches with the sun and, happy things, happy endings, good outcomes coming your way. 20 is transformation. This would be judgment. So I suppose you could see that snake there. So one wrong move, you're going to get bit by the snake. So that kind of karmic judgment. And I'm now only just realizing the snake is on somebody's bottom. So yes, if you move incorrectly, you're going to get your ass bit. Very definitely. And it's going to hurt. Although in the book, it kind of has auspiciousness, self-development through psychic transformation, and spirit supreme over matter. Don't know that I'd want to put my bum out for somebody to bite. Anyway, the earthbound, which would be the world, and again, so that is our completion of a cycle. Air, mother's milk. Haven't quite worked out why the word mother's milk would be the ace of air, but anyway. It's a spiritual homesickness, the desire to return to the source of all things, aspiration or non-duality. But I suppose the only thing for me that links it to air is the background. Or is it just that simple thought of returning to? So Maya, how she spins. Transient nature of all things, but in order to spin you also need to be in control. So it has that mercurial sort of feeling to it, in a way. 24 with the solar returns. So astrological influences, overcoming obstacles through recognition. 25 is a threefold riddle. Yes, that's definitely a riddle. Discrimination required, deep personal meaning, maybe psychological temptation. 2 + 5 is 7. So if we're going to break it down numerologically, as suggested at the front, that brings us back to lessons, which actually matches up with the Chariot card, with our threefold riddle. 26, mean and heavy. 2 and 6 would make 8. Evolutionary responsibility, fearlessness, preparation, overcoming difficulties. Going back to the RWS system of tarot, that would take us back to a strength card. So to me, that would make sense. 8 in the numerological aspect as well. Overcoming obstacles. Magic carpet. 9, so we have a hermity-esque energy and an attainment energy there for the magic carpet. Positive influences, delight of change. We have cosmic carrot. The cosmic carrot, well, what can we say? That makes 10, so there's a completion of a cycle. We have self-preservation, 29. Timeless aspect of eternity. Castles in the clouds. I can see why that's an air card. And then we have just passing through a view of reality, fundamental truths. So that gives you a basic look at a suit, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 cards per suit. So now let's look at the fire element. And I'm not going to read from the book for this. So we have Shiva, the pillar of fire. So it introduces you to the system. Then you have eternal life, burning bush, lineage tree, as above, so below, the guardian, fire of sacrifice, amusement, serpent power, blow your mind, and high tension. Somebody's lost their head. Water suit, wave of bliss. So the aces are really, really definite of what they are, aren't they? We have Mount, center of the universe. This one's a bit unusual to me because that would be more an air card. So I probably, anyway, that would make more of an ace of air to me than that weird mother's milk card, but Heart drop, like a bubble. Then we have abundance, horseplay, white lady, mother of pearl, cutting through, recall or memory, deep dive. So I'm also thinking with the borders on these, I'd probably add a few words instead of maybe writing the quick flip for the cards. I might actually put that around the edges. And we have the Rose Garden, so earth. Monkey puzzle tree. The tree spirit, Yakshi. We have Asylum. Interesting, we've got a horse in a tree. I've never seen a horse in a tree. I've seen goats in a tree, but I've never seen a horse in a tree. Totally Bananas. Elixir Fruit Essence. That has a bit of a sensual feel about it, I think. Here we have Temptation. The Chameleon. Pearls Before Swine. I've never heard that saying. That'll be an interesting one to look up. Taking Up Arms. And then we have Survival as the last card of the Earth deck. It's interesting that the word survival comes on a very barren landscape with industrial chimneys pumping out all sorts into the air. And then we have 3 extra cards. So we have the Dangerous Cat for the past, Centering for the present, and the Last Laugh for the future. Now, having a quick read through this deck, they suggest that you put it into order each time you do a reading. You start from the order that it comes in numerically, and then you shuffle and you use that to reset the deck for each reading, basically. So I don't know if that's something that I'll be doing when I'm using this, but it's going to be an interesting one to play with and try and see what happens. Again, this is another one that's going into my still learning shelf, because there's so much here for me to look at and learn. That I'm not sure how long this is going to take, but I'm no longer in the market for rushing the learnings, but I'm definitely liking working with decks in slow time. So I like a deck that I can pick up and start working with and use it at face value and then add to it. So that's what I like about this. So I can start using it, see how it works for me, and then I can slowly start adding the next layers as and when I'm ready for it. So I don't have to know it all before I pick it up. And that's quite intriguing to me, because it's very difficult to have all these systems or these ways of using decks and readings and having to have had this like back catalogue of information and readings before you can do what you want to do. So this one is unique in its approach to me. That's how I'm reading it, and that's what I like about it. And actually that's the same approach I think I'm going to take to most of my decks. So when people get scared about picking up a deck and using it, I'm going to encourage you to not. I'm going to encourage you to just go ahead and use the deck and see what you get from it. And I just need to get that one off the floor, so 1 second. The one that wanted to jump out. So let's have a little deeper exploration of this Holocaust, shall we? And interestingly, the book's opened right up on that page, so it's definitely that deck, isn't it? Definitely that card. Okay. Let's just see what we've got. I'm going to scan read some of this. I'm not obviously going to read the whole thing out. Holocaust bears number 16, spiritual victory related to the cosmic function of the sun. This card relates to the tower of the traditional tarot, signifying spiritual victory and related to the cosmic function of the sun, but relates to the tower in tarot. Does anyone else relate the tower in tarot to spiritual victory? I think that's a good way of flipping it on its head. I think that's a good way of putting a positive spin on it, but I don't think most of us, when we get that tower card, are thinking victory. But I like it. A house is depicted in a state of demolition. Yep, we can see that. Don't need to read that. Everyday existence is here symbolised by the suburban nature of the edifice. The transforming fire of the base centre takes control. Along with the flames, there bursts forth a cascade of eyes, symbolising the loss of ego and the shedding of perceptions brought about by the sudden traumatic event. Okay, so that does explain a lot of what's going on in that card. The loss is seen here as revelation for not a single ego, but rather the collective unconscious is involved and transformed. So that would be the spiritual victory element to the symbolism in the card. The necessity to change one's standpoint to take a decisive dramatic action. Such action is basically on the self, to rid it of all confusion caused by ego motivation, to free oneself from all worldly attachments and securities. Also, this card suggests an event that reverberates on a much wider level, public catharsis, bringing about a general change of consciousness. And then it goes on, there's some more information here. And in such a way, one can mirror the times and transcend all events comprising this Kali Yuga, a dark age where materiality, lack of moral fibre, and general apathy prevail. This card is understood according to the location in the Tree of Life at the heart centre. It indicates a sudden emotional change. Yes, it does. So that, I like that actually. So giving it a more positive spin is, how can I move forward and learn from this implosion of life? Okay. One last thing to talk about is the actual cardstock. This is really cardboardy to me. So this is, actually it's just cardboard, is what I would say. I think it's just cardboard. It has started to warp slightly. Before I got it, it already bowed in the packaging. But it's minor. I think it can be, probably, it's not going to bother me. I think it's just going to continue to bow because that's the type of stock it is, to be honest. I've seen people riffle shuffle this happily enough. So if you're a riffler, card size-wise, just a tiny bit longer, I think, than an actual tarot card. I don't have anything, of course, to hand other than a Thoth deck. It's the pocket-sized Thoth, so bigger than that, of course. But I'm sorry, I don't have one. No, I don't. I've only got a medieval Scapini, and that's not a normal-sized deck either. Yeah, so there we go. But I don't know what to say. It's going to be one interesting system. I am really, you can tell I've lost for words now because I'm just going on and on and on about it. I haven't even worked with the deck. But I'm fascinated. I think that's why I am genuinely fascinated by what I've picked up and what this actually is. And I would be interested to hear from those of you who do study astrology, how you think this is going to fit in or work. Those of you that know more about the Dakini and Tantric elements of it than I do, or yoga, what can you bring to the conversation and the table with this? Has it piqued any of your interests? Because I think it's fascinating. And we have my favourite card, the Mother's Milk, to go out with. So there you go. The first card of the air element. That longing for home. So maybe this is going to take me into another aspect of learning yet again. So this is about to blow my mind. And we're going to start learning new things, clearly. Right, anyway, I will end it there. So take care. Until next one, bye-bye.